So you remember several weeks ago, perhaps even a month plus, you had Tucker Carlson announce the biggest interview of this year. Justin Trudeau's half-brother is going to be interviewed by Tucker Carlson. Well, if you can't already tell by the thumbnail and the title, that has just happened. That has just dropped. We're going to take a look at some insane leaked details from the inside. Justin Trudeau's own family is ratting him out. This is absolutely insane, folks. So before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. It does really help grow the channel, as well as turning post notifications on, adds a layer of insurance so you can actually be notified of upcoming videos. And I have a message from today's sponsor. I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We have teamed up together and they are willing to offer my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE, which can be found linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. There is a massive amount of censorship that's happening around the world, and Justin Trudeau is taking it into his own hands, which is why you need to protect yourself with a VPN. Now, what a VPN does is it encrypts your personal information so that when you're browsing on different websites, your info isn't shared. It's almost a way of putting a cloak over yourself, and the favorite way that I go about doing this is with private internet access. Even when it comes to simple things like getting the right information from the news, there is massive amounts of censorship happening. And the only way that you can really get an unbiased opinion is with a VPN. But above and beyond that, if you want to get different shows and movies on different platforms such as Netflix or Disney, and there's these geolocation restrictions, the only really way around that is with a VPN such as private internet access. Not only can you do that from a computer or a tablet, but you can also do that from your phone, which is why private internet access is the best way that I like to go about it. It's user-friendly, it's very affordable, and it's a best way of saying F you to the government. Once again, the link for private internet access and code SUNSHINE is linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. And just remember, the government doesn't want you to hide your identity, but you should take the matter into your hands. And that's why Private Internet Access and I have teamed up to offer you guys 83% off. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. Without further ado, let's get into this insane video. Here we go.
I mean, first, I loved my brother Justin.
Of course.
Through and through. And, I don't think he never smoked that much weed. He was not really into that. That was not his thing. He's pretty on point. But I will, add to it that he liked to be he likes the attention, and he likes to be the leader of of the show. And when the opportunity for him to be follow in his father's footsteps and be the Prime Minister of Canada, because if you're growing up as a child and you see your father as the Prime Minister and having access to all of the lights, the events, the interactivities,
the trappings, we say.
Trappings, yeah. You kind of want that too. And I think, I don't know what exactly took place, but at some point, it's like, it was either Justin was kind of identified as someone who'd make a great prime minister and was, helped in that journey. And, quite frankly, Justin he's an amazing person, and he was able to connect with so many people.
Yes.
And very lovable. But again, once this COVID and the vaccine thing took place, and his words that he was using, which I don't know were really coming from his heart or whether they're coming from, the teleprompter, what was really being referred.
But it sounds like you saw in him, despite your love.
Okay, so a couple of things. Trudeau's brother seems to be a hippie, the whole 9 yards, right? He's wearing vote to make Earth great again pins. He's got the long hair. As somebody with long hair, I can attest to that. I walk around barefoot most of the time, all right? I got that hippie swag as well. It seems like the only people that in this world that actually love Justin Trudeau are his brother, who Tucker Carlson is interviewing, and his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau has come out since separation and said that she still has love for him. It just didn't work out. Justin Trudeau, it's important to know that Justin Trudeau has been groomed. For any Americans out there, for anyone for this is going to, I assume, reach an audience above and beyond just Canadians who actually know who Justin Trudeau is and are dealt with the unfortunate realities of his full communist dictatorship. Justin Trudeau's been groomed since being a child, right? His father was prime minister. He was in the spotlight from a very young age. The press would even interview him when he was going to school, right? There's interviews of him as like a child, like 18 years old or whatever, saying, "Oh, are you ever going to run for politics?" And he's, got that like teenager look. "Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I want to do anything like that." He's been pre-programmed. He's been groomed, indoctrinated into the system. So he's not a free man. He's absolutely not a free man. And that's what his brother is saying in this interview, is that Trudeau is forced to say certain things. Justin is forced to say certain things, and he's forced to abide by certain narratives. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it seems like his brother, who's being interviewed right now by Tucker Carlson, doesn't believe in the whole medical thing that happened over the past few years type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Where certain people have to get something and other people don't get something, and then you got labeled a certain way. I don't think he believes in that stuff. So let's continue.
Love for him and your acknowledgement that he's talented, which he obviously is. He became prime minister. You saw in him the potential for the abuse of power.
He's a greedy little man.
I mean, I don't think he's abusing power. I think power is in general being abused.
Yep.
Just like, we've seen it, whether it's Justin or it was, Boris Johnson,
right,
Jacinda Ardern, or Joe Biden.
Couldn't agree more.
That's a shame that Tucker Carlson says that, because Tucker Carlson was vocal when the Freedom Convoy happened in Ottawa in February 2022, where Justin Trudeau absolutely abused power, like to the highest extent that we have ever seen in Canada. Invoked the War Measures Act on the own citizens of Canada who were playing hockey in the streets. Kids were on bouncy castles, and they were preparing meals for each other and the homeless and cleaning up the streets. The most peaceful protest that North America has ever seen to this day. And he invoked the War Measures Act on these people, and then froze bank accounts of 57-year-old Susie, I'm assuming, right? 72-year-old Deborah, who wanted to donate to Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe to the trucker protest because she saw it on this channel or saw it on mainstream media or heard about it or was there in Ottawa, right? It's absolutely insane. The biggest abuse of power. It's not power is being abused by people. It's Justin Trudeau is abusing power.
Yeah, power tends to be abused by its nature.
And centralized systems over time, the further centralized they get, the more secretive and corrupt they become as well.
Amen. Now you're speaking my language, Kyle. I totally agree with you. So when the vax thing happened and your brother starts saying things like anyone who hasn't taken it is dirty and you should have a right not to be physically near a dirty, unvaccinated person, you say that was stuff from that not from his heart, but from the teleprompter. Who do you think was putting it on the teleprompter?
Well, or it's like, as Matthias Desmond said, like this mass formation psychosis, when you have like everybody around him saying all this, like, it's like, what are his inputs? Like with Plato's cave, like if everybody's always around you telling you how the world is, that's going to impact your worldview, versus ourselves being open to having much more access to open information and, actually listening to it. Like there's a point I really believe, like there's good intentions, but when counter information is presented, it's like you don't want to hear it, and it threatens the worldview. It's like, just give me the blue pill. I'll just keep taking.
Totally right.
Pill. Like, no, don't want to know, because I know, like, is if you recognize that there is, there's shadows and there are nefarious activities, and there's, that some of these warnings might have some credence and demand further investigation and justice, then can be an uncomfortable position to put yourself in. So
what and thank you for mentioning Matthias Desmet, wrote one of the great books in the last 100 years, in my opinion.
Well, and in that point, what he said about you can catalyze a group to really hate another group.
Oh, yes.
And, and Charles Eisenstein wrote an excellent article called Mob Morality and the Unvaxxed, in which he made the case that, this group is being like relentlessly attacked. And, we saw a Toronto Star in Canada write a full like front page article saying, let them die. It was just so hostile towards, those of us who said, no, you know what? I'm not interested. I'm not going to do this. You don't have.
And they wished your death on you for that.
And they would, and I mean, even Joe Biden said it's going to be, what did he say, a winter of death?
Yes.
Or something ridiculous along those lines.
I don't believe, this is my own personal opinion, and I'm calling bullshit on this claim. I don't believe that there was a person behind the teleprompter who was telling Justin Trudeau to say these things, and he had opposition viewpoints. I firmly believe that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals are and have been and have gone down this radical extreme ideology that this is what they believe. They're surrounded by a bunch of yes people, and this is firmly what they believed. If you get rid of Justin Trudeau and you look at what's happening, I don't mean like get rid of him. I just mean like take him out of this scenario for a second, okay? Justin Trudeau exists, just like not as prime minister. He's just like a normal person. Pretend there's no prime minister of Canada. Pretend everything else was functioning as normal, okay? The World Economic Forum, their policies, all of the gender war, the culture war, everything that's happening around the world, there is so much divisiveness that is happening. And it's a prime minister's job or a leader of a country's job to bring people together, to run the country like a successful business and to have economy booming. Justin Trudeau has done the opposite of that. He's taken the divisiveness in other parts of the world and he's quite literally brought it here. You could be an awesome person and you could disavow. You have the ability to disavow the World Economic Forum. And you could say, I don't believe in that. I don't think that we should want a part of that. Seems like a lot of people are against it. We should focus on Canada and Canadian values, not on these random people that have their strings in everybody and that have penetrated the Liberal cabinet and Justin Trudeau, like Klaus Schwab has quite literally said on a panel. So I'm calling bullshit on what his brother's saying right now. I think it's some weird projection. I feel like maybe he's trying to appear on Tucker to be, a bit of a, like provide some alternative. I don't want to say Tucker's mainstream media because he's not. He's a massive household name, right? But he's almost a plant. I think that Justin Trudeau's brother is being a bit of a plant right now and that he's like backing his brother. I don't believe at all that Trudeau was forced to say these things. I think that Justin Trudeau actually believes it. If not, then he's the greatest fucking actor we've ever seen. But we know that he's a failed drama teacher. So these things aren't adding up.
I thought, well, what can we do? Can we do some food service? How can we help the community towards in this, this dangerous time? I wasn't really met with too much, obviously he himself, I think, was also taking in so much different information and I, wanted to help. I remember a good friend reached out with a mushroom solution that was helping the cytokine storm and sent that his way and never got any kind of answers to it. Just didn't seem like, he was really looking for too much help. And then like once the vaccine agenda became really clear, that's when I was just like, hold on here. I remember, Mickey Willis put out Plandemic 1 with Judy Mikovits, but then he put out Plandemic 2, Indoctrination, which really detailed, the Event 201 scenario where they basically role played how a global coronavirus pandemic should be handled by the corporatocracy in conjunction with government and media. And, so they role played the whole thing 2 months before or 3 months before it all went live. So
it sounds like he's a little red pilled, which is good, right? And it's crazy to think that someone within Justin Trudeau's family or circle chose to not get the thingamabobbers in his arms, right? Like that's pretty wild. You think that Justin and his entire circle would be pressuring everyone around him, but no. You have the prime minister of a country who pressured everybody, created massive divisiveness, and literally called people who didn't get that done all of these names and slandered them and made their lives a living hell. He chose to do that. He chose to do this to his own freaking brother, which is like insane. We're dealing with a total psychopath or a fucking dictator here in Canada. If there's any other country out there that could actually help Canada, please, we need some help. Canada is in a desperate, desperate need for help. We need an election. We need something.
This Ho'oponopono message is something that I think we can take out there and you can really heal a lot. And we live in a very divided civilization right now, but more than just a country. Like in America, it's very divided. And this is one of Bobby's messages, like how do we heal the divide? How do we bring people together? Because we've been so polarized and it's easy to, and I feel like it's by design. It's divide and conquer.
Of
you
course.
People just like, how many different identity buckets can you get them in? And then when they're all fighting each other, it's like, it's easy to control. Versus like if we can actually heal and start working together and having open, honest discourse and respecting the differences of opinion that we all might have and share. But it's imperative that we're able to have open, honest discussion without being able to, retreat or censor or attack or smear or guilt by association or use single words like conspiracy theory to just dismiss very valid points that require investigation.
Right. I mean, you have to be honest enough to assess things on their own terms. Even if it's something you don't want to hear, the first question you have to ask, it's your moral obligation to ask is it true? Is it true? You say to me, you're a bad driver. Well, I don't want to be a bad driver, but I have to ask myself, like, am I a bad driver? Right?
Right.
Yeah, right. You have to be honest. So you mentioned apologizing to your mom, who I should say for people who aren't Canadian is like a very famous person in Canada, of course. Margaret Trudeau, famous.
Amazing. Love you, Mama.
What's her view of all this stuff? Got two sons on different sides.
I think, she's very proud of Justin and all that he's done. So,
Oh my
and
God.
I think I've always been, a little bit on the outside, let's say maybe the black sheep of the family a little bit with
It sounds like it.
the questions and the topics of discussions and the debates that I would like to engage in.
Like about what?
About many different things. About you had Ron Paul on here. The other day. Like a lot of the lessons of the good doctor, like the Federal Reserve, looking at that, looking at blowback, looking at foreign policy engagement. Like right now, Canada, Justin said repeatedly, we're in this till the end, until victory. It's like, come on. What does that look like? How can we do that?
What does that even mean?
What exactly? It never ends. Like, what is the condition? Why aren't we until the victory? How about peace? How about diplomacy? How, like, the war, like pushing for war? Very, very dangerous, especially with our neighbors. Like Russia is a neighbor to Canada, just right there.
Yeah,
it is. And I think that a lot of people underestimate that and just it glances by. And this is super interesting. The more I'm listening to Kyle, the more I'm realizing how based he actually kind of is. And it seems like he's the opposite of Justin Trudeau, which is wild, which is absolutely wild. And I also just noticed as I've been filming this, as this interview is unfolding, right, as I'm recording this, I just so happened to notice that Kyle follows me on Twitter. Or X, sorry. And hey, man. Hey, look, I didn't mean those bad things that I said about you. I didn't mean those things. But I don't interview people. I don't really interview people. I don't bring people onto my show. I don't do that. I just talk about what's happening in the news and stuff like that. Mostly because I just don't have an interest in doing that. But Kyle, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you all about Justin Trudeau, all about your brother and what your thoughts are politically on what's happening. Because I think that he's close to, like, I feel like he's so close to saying, look, man, my brother just needs to step back. He's gone too far off the spectrum. And I want to see that. I want to see him. I want to hear him say that. I really do.
Side. It's like, why? We don't want to even, what's the point of this?
Do you know the answer? I don't know the answer. What do you think the answer is? What is the point?
Well, I think it's a global proxy war for the corporatocracy to further transfer wealth from sovereign individuals into the coffers of the global corporation.
I think that's a good guess.
I mean, it's like Henry Perkins, like, he wrote the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Kind of shows like when we're giving $80 million or $80 billion in US dollars or whatever the number is to Ukraine, like, you think that money is like a pallet that's going to Ukraine? Like, no, it's there. Here's money for you to spend on our things.
So,
Okay, I need to reverse the part where I said I feel like his brother's a plant and he's there to prop up Justin, because I'm not realizing that was way out of line. I think he's super close. He doesn't want to cross a line with his brother or a moral and an ethical thing, but he's saying some really good points, man. Like, Canada should not be sending billions and billions of dollars to fight these foreign wars. It sounds like he's got a bit of a nationalist mentality where Canada should be focusing on Canadian things. I'd be interested to know if his brother, if Kyle would endorse Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party, or what his thoughts are on Pierre. I'd really love to know that.
You've made reference to prayer, and you've sort of revealed a worldview that is spiritual on some level. Canada seems very aggressively hostile to Christianity, for example, and spirituality. And that seems like a new thing. All these church burnings, for example, take place across your country. Some government officials, including your brother, seem to not have a problem with that. Like, what's your view of the role of spirituality in what's happening right now?
Well, there were a lot of pastors too, who stood up.
Yes.
And went to jail, and and who were subjugated and punished.
So if you're cheering church burnings and throwing pastors in jail, like, what side are you on?
What do you think?
I think you're on Satan's team, honestly. That's what I actually think, since you asked.
Well, it feels like there's some dark energies out there. There's like, I akin it to, like, it just seemed like there was a negative cloud taking in Canada, a bad energy, bad juju going on. Like when my wife Brittany and I were in Canada in 2020, she was pregnant. She got chased out of a grocery store.
Why?
Not wearing a mask. She was super pregnant, and we were defiant around all of that stuff. I was just not having it. And but for people to get to that level of animosity and hate towards someone for not kind of complying, it's really scary that it got to that state. And
chasing a pregnant lady out of a grocery store?
Chasing a pregnant lady out of a grocery store. Triggering a miscarriage.
That's just absolutely beyond.
Oh, it's horrible.
So did you grow up in Ottawa?
I did.
So it really is your country, and I can tell by the way you
I
say
grew up
the
in
word
Ottawa.
about.
I've been all over Canada. I've been all around. Canadians far and wide are amazing people.
I agree with that.
Beautiful country, just like America. I mean, I've been so blessed to be all over America.
Canadians are some of the most polite and self-aware people I've ever met, and the reputation of Canadians goes across the world. I've traveled a good part of the world in my younger days, and everywhere I went, people would say, "Oh, like, where are you from?" Right? And I'd say, "Oh, I'm Canada. I'm from Canada. I'm Canadian." They say, "Oh, Canadians are so nice. You guys are awesome." Across the board, the reputation of Americans, a little different. I gotta add it, a little bit different, right? A little bit more hoorah. Canadians have a little bit more of an apologetic and softer tone compared to Americans historically, right? Just generalizing. And now Canadians doesn't seem to be that way. Justin Trudeau's painted Canadians as this like radical place where people are just nuts and they're protesting against the government. It's all full of conspiracies, right? He's name dropped Alex Jones. You got right-wing extreme groups here, extreme, right? It's just wild what's going on in Canada. And it's all because of Justin Trudeau's branding. He's using his platform as prime minister to go out and shit talk just everybody. It's so unfreaking believable that our prime minister is just slandering an entire nation and ruining our reputation. So Kyle, I want to take a moment here. I have no idea how many views this is going to get, but I do know that I have almost 400,000 subscribers, and I would love to have you on just for like 15 minutes. We'll just do a quick Zoom call or whatever, right? And I want to ask you some questions about your brother and about who you endorse politically here in Canada, and we'll just keep it straight into Canada and Canadian politics. I would absolutely love that. And let me know down in the comments below if you guys would like to see that happen. I've never done this. I've never done like a public, like, I would like to call out this person, so let's make it happen. Never once in my life, but I would really like to know down in the comments if you guys would like to see that happen. That's where we're going to end this. This is a very long interview by Tucker Carlson. I'd recommend going to his channel and watching the full thing. All right. I'm sure in the coming days, you're going to have more clips and stuff like that come out, and more. He might be on a media tour, so you might have more clips of Kyle in different areas surface. So on your way out, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet already, turn post notifications on so you don't miss a single beat, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.